Good evening, parents and guardians. I am Gretchen Guijarro, formerly known as Gretchen Schwab. I am teaching your student this year either Spanish 1 or Spanish 3. I do apologize for not being at back to school night last night, and I am making this video in lieu of being there. I know it isn't the same as a face-to-face conversation, but I'm hoping this way you can at least get to see me, get to know who I am, and I'm going to give you pretty much the same speech I would have given last night. And if you do have any questions or if you'd like to meet with me in person, please feel free to contact me, and I'm more than happy to meet with any of you when we can. So who am I? I am Senora Schwab or Senora Guijarro. I did get married about a month ago on July 27th, so I am in the process of changing my name. Right now it still says Schwab on everything, but soon it will say Guijarro. I am a fan of the last name for many reasons, but one is that it does require students to pronounce a few of the sounds in Spanish that tend to be difficult for English speakers. The gi, the ha, and the ro. Guijarro. This is my 18th year of teaching, my 17th year of teaching Spanish. I did teach 1 year of English in Mexico City at a university. It was quite humbling because English is quite difficult. I've taught Spanish at several different high schools. I taught at my high school, John Swett High School, for 1 year. I taught in Fairfield for 11 years. I taught in Pleasanton for 2 years. I taught in San Ramon, and now I am here. This is my 3rd year in the Acalani School District. I did major in Spanish in college. I got my bachelor's degree in Spanish, and during that time, I was at San Diego State. I did study in Madrid, Spain for a year during my junior year. I did go on to get my master's in Spanish, and I studied in Costa Rica and Peru for 1 summer each. Both of those were great experiences for me because I got to live with families and see very different cultures, very different from Spain, very different from Mexico that I think a lot of us are familiar with because of travel. And very, very eye-opening and very amazing. And I do love that I can share all of those experiences with my students in the classroom. I am also a yoga instructor. I teach yoga on the weekends at a place called The Studio in Danville, and sadly we just found out that it is going to be closing in about a month, but I am still going to try to teach yoga in either in the mornings or in the afternoons or on weekends. I do love teaching yoga, and I love bringing yoga philosophy to the classroom and sharing that with the students as well, trying to keep them calm, a little less stressed, and yoga does help with that. If you do want to reach me, my email is still Schwab, so it's gschwab@Acalani or auhsdschools.org. It will be changed to Guijarro at some point. I'm sure we will let you know when that will be. So I will be going over the class description very quickly. This is something that hopefully your student showed to you, and you hopefully signed the bottom here, and it was given to me last week. So I'm going to go through this, and I will differentiate what Spanish 1 and 3 have differently. So Spanish 1, the topics that we cover are basic topics like numbers, colors, alphabet, greetings, dates, school subjects, family, vacations, weather, shopping, etc. The book that we use is called Senderos. I think this is backwards for you guys. We do use Vista Higher Learning. We call it VHL. It's an online component to the book. I really do like VHL a lot. A lot of students get frustrated with it, but I like it because it's picky. And by picky, I mean that it counts punctuation, periods. Are things capitalized? Are there accents on the words where they're supposed to be? So I like that because it requires students to pay attention to detail. So you'll be seeing students using either the book or the online activities. For Spanish 3, we divide our curriculum into themes. So there are different themes throughout the year. Right now we're talking about identity. Next we'll be talking about adventures in nature. And then I am a member of my community, the work world, and traveling through the Spanish-speaking world. Hopefully you saw your student bring home this book called Avancemos. It isn't used as much as the Spanish 1 book is used because in Spanish 3 we use the book to guide us, but we use more short stories, videos, things like that. And what do I recommend for our students? I do recommend that my students have a binder. They don't have to have a separate binder for Spanish, but having something where they can put their Spanish stuff. And within that, I do recommend that they have 3 different categories. One being coursework, trabajo del curso. Second, notes, apuntes or notas. And the third, songs or canciones. We do love to sing songs in Spanish. I told them it really helps with pronunciation, and it helps us have fun as well. I do allow late work this year for full credit. That is something that's different if you've had me before. We did a lot of talk this summer about homework policy, late work, and what that means for our curriculum, what that means for our students. So I did decide this year to allow students to turn in late work until the end of each quarter. So what that means is right now students can turn in assignments to me until the end of October and still receive full credit. Between October and December, that is the next window. And then after that, it's the end of the semester. The following quarter ends in March, and then the end of the year is in May. So those are the 4 different deadlines for me for students to turn in late work. I did change that policy because I did feel like often students would turn in homework and not understand it fully. And sometimes students would end up just copying another student just to get points and not really understand what they're doing. So in order to avoid things like that, I am allowing students time to come see me during academy or whenever they can so that we can go over the work and they won't be punished or be stressed about it being late and being penalized point-wise. Because it is more about the education than the points, so we are really trying to focus on that. I do have School Loop and Google Classroom this year. This is the first year that I'm using Google Classroom, so it's still a new technology thing for me. So I tell the students to please be patient with me. I am learning, I'm trying, and sometimes I am still messing up. But it is Google, so it is pretty user-friendly. But I am still trying to figure out certain things and how it works. So I think by the end of the year we'll all be okay with that. But I do encourage my students to check School Loop, to check Google Classroom to find out what is going on and what they will be missing if they're absent. I also encourage parents to please allow your students to be self-advocates for themselves and encourage them to check them on their own, show them how to check it on their own, or have me help them, whatever we need to do so that you don't have to be the ones reaching out to me, it is them reaching out to me, because one of my biggest things that I like to teach them is to have uncomfortable conversations with adults, or just having conversations with adults. It doesn't have to be uncomfortable, although for many it is. But I do want them to feel like they can come and talk to me and not have to talk through you, so that it is direct conversation or direct communication with the students. So please, I encourage you to encourage that with them. Rules in my classroom are pretty standard. I don't think there is anything that stands out too much. I do ask students to place their cell phones in a cell phone holder in the front of my classroom. I do that to cut back on the distractions of the cell phones, which I'm sure we're all aware of at this point. So I do ask parents as well, please refrain from communicating with students during the school hours. And if we do, then please don't expect an answer until the end of the period, because we are trying to keep them with us for that period of time that we have them. And so just so you know, if you're not hearing from your student during class, it's because their phone is in the, what I call the phone hotel, el hotel de los teléfonos, de los celulares. That's where the phones go and take a nap. What else? So grading, how I grade this year. I do round up grades. So if your grade ends in a 0.5 to a 0.9, it does get rounded up. I do coursework 35%. Formal assessment, so quizzes, tests, and projects are 50%. And the final exam is 15%. And I tell them that 15 does sound like a lot, but realistically, it doesn't make that much of a difference unless your grade is on the cusp either way. So if you have a 91 or an 89, that's when it's going to matter. If you have an 85, you're probably going to get a B. You're going to get a B. I think that's about it. If you guys have any questions, if you have any comments, or if there's anything special that you would like me to know about your son or daughter or niece or nephew, whoever you are here representing, please feel free to contact me. Again, my email is gschwab@auhsdschools.org. I'm going to quickly give you a tour of the room just so you know what the students see when they're here. And behind me here is an agenda board for Spanish 3. So every day when the kids walk in, they should be able to see what is going on right there. The Spanish 1 agenda board is right over there. So again, when they come in, they should be able to see what is happening right there. That is the front of the room where I sometimes lecture from. I also sometimes lecture from here, so we're all over the place in here. And then over here we have some decorations to keep the room lively, and some cultural things about Spain, where like I said, where I lived for a year. I like to decorate my windows with the flags of the countries. It keeps kids from being distracted by looking outside, and it is a decorative way to show off Spanish-speaking countries. This is my little homage to Mexico over here as well. So this is my classroom, and again, I am Miss Schwab, Mrs. Guijarro. Thank you for listening, and I hope to meet you guys in person soon. Come to open house in March, and I will be there. Thank you. Bye.